The Athletics' David O'Brien back on the show with us, joining FT
What's going
Live
on,
with
fellas?
no AJ today for you, David, but you do have
Thank
Kratz
God.
and Kipnis. Yeah, so it's Friday. We're trying to hang out, just keep it low key, and we do have a lot to get to with you. So I actually want to start here to get Kratz fired up because you're actually one of the most relevant people to ask this question to. So first off, congrats to the Braves. They win the first team Silver Slugger. Acuna, Olsen, and Riley rack up
I
those
did all I
awards. So you
could.
can
Thanks.
yeah, your writing just really sold the show. But your writing also helped players who read you across MLB see that Ronald Acuna Jr. should be player of the year voted on by his peers over Shohei Ohtani. And the guy right above you, in that box right above you, strongly disagrees that
I didn't say
Acuna
that.
should have won. Your
I didn't
thoughts?
say that. You're making that up. I didn't say that.
Wait,
I
who do
said he
you
should
think?
be. I said he should be National League MVP.
But who
Clearly,
do you think's player of the year?
uh, I think Acuna, but I can honestly see where Otani. I mean, it just depends on how you look at it. If you're going to look at it on overall impact, um, obviously Otani is just it's hard. It's apples and oranges because he pitches. I mean, it's so hard to say that another guy's more valuable if he just hits and plays defense. So I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. But I would also argue that it's hard to say you're the most outstanding or most valuable player when you didn't play the last 6 weeks and your team didn't even get to the playoffs. I know the Braves got beat, but the Angels didn't even get in the playoffs. So I don't know how you could argue that he is the most valuable player. But if it's most outstanding player, I don't know. I don't have an answer to that. But I do. I'm glad he's not in the AL because that would make my argument more difficult. But I don't think there's any way Acuna's not the MVP. Shouldn't be. He should be unanimous MVP in the National League.
Completely agree with the unanimous MVP. Player of the year, most outstanding player. He just won a Silver Slugger. And Acuna is the only person that has a lower ERA than Shohei. Like, of course it's Shohei. Shohei's doing all this and he's pitching. He didn't miss 6 weeks. He missed
Well,
like
yeah.
3.5 weeks. You're
Well,
pushing your rhetoric.
I thought it was 6 weeks. Okay. I think that I think if you really look at it the way you are, and I understand why you're looking at it that way, you could say Otani, as long as he does the hitting pitching thing, which he's not going to do next year because obviously Tommy John. But if he's doing the hitting and pitching thing like he did the last couple of years, you could argue that he should be the most outstanding player for as long as he does that because nobody else is doing it. I mean,
Yes.
it's apples and oranges. So I say I would not disagree with that. I would not make a hard case that anybody else should, as long as he's doing both at a high level, then he's the best player. I mean, he's like the Babe Ruth of modern day. Only Babe Ruth didn't do both simultaneously for any extended period like Otani has.
But if
People
Ohtani has
forget
a
that.
4 ERA and the same exact hitting numbers as he had this year, which were more home runs, and he's had 20 stolen bases. I get it. Acuna had 70, so he had 50 more stolen bases. That's elite. But if he had a 4 ERA, is he still not the most outstanding player? What he is doing, like,
Yeah.
we should name the award after him when he is done playing.
Yeah, if he has a 4 ERA and does what he's done offensively, I agree. He's the most outstanding player. If he's making 30 starts, I mean, how can you argue that he's not? I mean, and I think there's probably some, I don't want to say bias towards American-born players and all that kind of thing, or guys who are more, who work better with the media and make themselves more available. But I think there probably is. If we had Freddie Freeman doing exactly what Otani is doing, there wouldn't even be any debate about who is the most outstanding player. Let's face it, there wouldn't be.
All right, so while we're on that topic, Dave, we are running a little series on the case for Shohei Ohtani.
He ain't coming to the Braves.
Wow. We didn't even get through the freaking graphic. We didn't even get through the animation.
Come on.
I like to usually start it off with what's the percentage chance?
Yeah,
Have you heard
0.
any discussions? 0.
No.
Total 0. Do you have like confirmation from a
No,
team official?
I don't.
Have they come out? They can't
No, I
publicly
haven't.
say because you're not allowed to say that. But,
And they
but
wouldn't
why are
either.
you so emphatic? I didn't even finish 3 words, and you're like, yeah, I've seen the series. Forget it. Take us off.
Okay, realistically, what's Ohtani going to get? Even with the TJ surgery, he's going to get less money than he would have if he was healthy. Because if he was healthy, he's going to get the first $50 million a year AAV, right? If he's healthy.
Right, and probably still close to that. Like, let's just assume, in my
It's going
mind,
to be
I
well
feel
over
like
40.
500 is safe.
It's
Right,
going to
and
be
it's
well
over
over
40 a
40.
year. Sure.
Okay, the Braves, with all of the extensions they gave out in the last 3 years, there's like they got 8 guys signed long term. 6 of them are really long term extensions. Not one season of any of those contracts, including Ronald Acuna's, including Olson's, including Austin Riley's, Strider's, none of them is there a salary higher than $22 million. So you're going to say Ohtani's going to come in and you're going to give him over 40 million. You're going to give him basically twice what you're giving anybody else per year. You're going to say, Ronald Acuna, your contract peaks at $17 million a year, which is ridiculously undervalued, obviously. But we're going to give another guy 3 times what we're giving you. And we expect you to be happy with that. I just don't see it. I don't see how it would work. And he's not going to have the kind of off the field endorsement opportunities in Atlanta that he might have some other places. There is a significant Asian population here, believe it or not. I know a lot of people probably don't think there is, but there is. But nothing like he's going to have in a Pacific Rim city like San Francisco, LA, Anaheim, whatever,
Seattle.
or Seattle. Obviously, I think if Seattle was still had their previous owner, who was a Sony guy, I think it'd be a no-brainer. I think it would be no question that's where he would end up. I still feel like he'll end up in one of those cities rather than Texas, Chicago, or New York. I cannot see Ohtani with his whole entourage thing and the way I don't even talk to the media except days that I pitch and after the game's over. Otherwise, he doesn't talk unless he feels like doing it one day. He has 3 home runs. Okay, I'll talk to you. I'll deign you with an audience. But that's just the way he operates. And I understand because he's got 50 people there every day. They want to talk every day. But can you imagine him having that attitude or that approach in New York? It won't work. And I just don't see him wanting to deal with all that thing in New York. I can't see it. I see him on the West Coast. Just like I saw Craig Counsell, I thought there was no way he was ever going to go to the Mets. And I said that on our podcast. Knowing Counsell as I do back since he was a rookie with the Marlins when they traded for him from the Rockies, and knowing what a Midwestern guy he was and his deep, deep ties to Milwaukee, I thought the only ones that made sense were Cleveland, Milwaukee, or a Chicago, right there in that area. To me, that made the most sense. Or he'd sit out a year.
Yeah, but with all the money that they've all saved from all these great deals from signing these guys early, you finally can cash out and aim high and get Ohtani with that. But I hate to I'm going to have to even almost side with Derek on this one. It's like Atlanta, it might be the one organization. Ohtani doesn't make sense. Ohtani, they don't need him in this sense. And I can make a case for Ohtani on every other organization, how he makes every club better. That's not where they're so good and so deep in everything. It's the one team that can probably be like, we're good.
It kind of flies in the face of their whole business model. I mean, it's just
Yeah.
like we're going to throw that out the window, what we've been preaching for 3 years, signing these young guys to these below market deals, trading security for them leaving money on the back end of these contracts. And they all acknowledge that, but they're getting security and playing at a place they want to be and all that. Well, it's like the Braves are going to say, okay, but never mind all that. We're going to go get Ohtani and give him 3 times what we're giving some of these other studs, and double what we're giving Austin Riley or Matt Olson or any of them. At least double what we're giving any of those guys. They would pay him what they pay any of those 2 guys combined, and then an additional $10 million probably.
Well, keep in mind the market always keeps resetting. They always get those guys early on for low deals or for team friendly deals, if you will, because they signed them earlier and they never get probably their full value on their first contracts. So they're already lower than what they expect. And then Ohtani would be signing later. So it's like, you're like, okay, well, you're going to give them double of what these guys. Doubles might be a fair value if you think about it at the end of the day. I just don't think he's the fit maybe there.
Oh, yeah. I don't think it's not fair value. I just think for this place, the way they do things, what they've done has allowed them to spread the wealth, so to speak, and have these guys locked up long term at almost every position on the diamond. Whereas if they waited and signed a guy like Freddie in the last year before free agency, they would have had to pay him obviously well over that $22 million. And they're going to have to break that model soon, that number. soon because the market has reset, like you said, and their payroll's rising, and they will spend a little more. So somebody's going to get $25 million a year. If they sign Max Fried, I can't see him signing for $22 million a year AAV. They might have to go 3 years, $75 million with him. I mean, that's probably real low for Max Fried, but coming off the injury, maybe he takes that for security. I doubt it. Maybe 4 years, $100 million, that kind of thing, but I doubt it. They've waited too long, I think, with him, like they did with pretty much like they did with Freddie and Dansby.
So you just made the case for why they're going to sign Ohtani, because you said they're going to pay two players the same as they're going to play one player, and he's
two players.
Yeah.
Well, he hadn't proven yet that he could be two players for an entire season, year after year. Well, I mean, there's a reason nobody else has done that, because it's too damn hard on the body, as you know. I do not think he can keep doing it for 4 or 5 more years. I don't know if he can keep doing it for 2 or 3 more years. I mean, I talk to starting pitchers and they tell me, I don't understand how he does it, because they need those 3 or 4 days between starts to get it back. It's not like it was in the old days where guys threw 120 pitches. Now they're throwing 70, 80, 90 pitches, max effort, and the next day some of them can barely lift their shoulders. And he's out there playing. He's not even icing down after he comes out of a game, because he's still playing. So it's tough, man. I don't see how he's going to keep doing that. But I think Ohtani, either as a pitcher or a hitter, when he stops doing that in 2 or 3 years, will still be worth the value of his contract, probably, with what he's going to do in the first 2 or 3 years and the butts he's going to put in the seats and all that. Just it's going to have to be with a huge market, or a huge payroll team, I should say, not a huge market, because they're all all the top 10 are huge markets, but not all of them are all huge payrolls.
All right. So they're out on Ohtani, and Ohtani's going to sign with the Mets and beat the Braves year in and year out. But what are the Braves going to do?
It wouldn't be the first guy that the Mets. It wouldn't be the first guy the Mets signed, and we all said, "Ooh, the Mets are going to beat the Braves now."
Yeah, well, they got a long way. They got more than Shohei to get to where the Braves are. But what do the Braves need to do? Do the Braves look at their season and say, "Hey, we are so good in the regular season, but whatever we got to do, we just got to sign all the Phillies players away in the postseason, and then we'll be good"?
Well, to their credit, Alex Anthopoulos said yesterday that I would like to assign it to randomness and say that, what happened in the postseason for 2 years in a row is just random, and there's really nothing you can do about it. But he said, I wouldn't be doing my job if I did that, and we have to look at everything. And honestly, the thing that's bit them in the ass the last 2 years in the postseason, both years, the lack of starting pitching depth. When they're healthy, they have a really deep, good starting rotation, but they just didn't have anybody that could step in for a Fried and a Charlie Morton last year. Both of those guys were hurt, or this year Charlie Morton, last year Fried and Strider coming in. Fried was coming off a sickness. He lost 15 pounds, which he's not a guy that can afford to lose 15 pounds. He was weakened by the flu. He wasn't himself at all last year. Strider was coming off an oblique. He wasn't himself. He was tired after 2 innings and got lit up in the third. This year they did the NLDS without Charlie Morton because of ligament, finger ligament injury, and with once again Fried coming in really rusty because of his injury situation. He had the blister again, so he only made one start in like 3-4 weeks before the NLDS. So both years they had 2 of their main 3 starters down or are not at full strength, and they ran up against a Phillies team that surged both times and had guys all hitting on all cylinders offensively and just wrecked them. So they've got to be able to go into next year's postseason knowing that, hey, if we have another 1 or 2 starters down, we're not going to have to rely on Bryce Elder, who had a 6 ERA down the stretch, got lit up in his last 3 starts and was on fumes because it was the most innings he'd ever pitched. We're not going to have to rely on him as one of our 3 starters in the postseason. That's why they've got to go out and get somebody. Even though they brought Charlie back on the $20 million option, they still got to go out and get a frontline guy, whether that's trade for Corbin Burns, which to me would be ideal, even though he's only 1 year left on his deal. Trade for Corbin Burns, sign Sonny Gray, to team with Fried, Strider, and Charlie Morton so that you're covered for that. First round, you're going to have 3 starters, even if a couple of them are rusty or down or whatever, like they were the past 2 years, because the offense, I mean, no, they didn't hit in the NLDS this year, but I don't think the offense. I think the offense is fine. I really don't think you need to do anything with the offense.
But if you sit here and go, okay, let's say they had Charlie Morton. Let's say they had Charlie Morton in his last series. You don't run Bryce Elder out there. You already lost the Strider game, and then you lost the next Strider game. You weren't winning until the last inning of the Fried game. So are you going to bring in? Let's say they get the greatest starting pitcher available. To me, I think it's Corbin Burns in a trade. Are you going Strider? I know you were striking out 10 guys per 6 innings in the season. We're going to go Corbin Burns. Or they're going to be 0-2 in a 5-game series again, and Corbin Burns is going to throw game 3 to save your life?
No, that's not the way I look at it. If Fried's healthy, Fried goes game 1 this year, and it's a different story.
Wow.
If Fried wasn't at 100%, okay? If Strider goes game 2, and you got Corbin Burns going 2 and Strider 3, whatever way you want to configure that, depending on what happens during the season, I think you're fine. They didn't hit in that first game. Are you going to tell me, though, that the offense is flawed because they didn't hit in that first game? Zach Wheeler was phenomenal against the Braves. He's a great pitcher. When he's on top of his game, he's a elite pitcher, top 5, top 10 for sure. They didn't hit, but that doesn't mean you have to do something different with the offense, does it? I just didn't think, they didn't hit. But if the series goes another game, maybe they do hit. They did wake up for a couple of innings where they hit the home runs in that one game, but I just think that the starting pitching was the biggest problem. And also the bullpen needs to be strengthened because the bullpen, it's not like they came in and shut it down. If the bullpen was a lot deeper, then you would have been able to get a couple of those guys out of there even faster and been able to rely on that bullpen to go 5-6 innings strong. But they didn't have those kind of relievers down the stretch this year at all. Not like 21, where they had those 3 relievers who were all but unhittable in the postseason with Matzik and Will Smith and Mentor. All 3 of those guys in the postseason were phenomenal. I mean, that happened. It didn't happen this year, and they weren't even close to having that kind of bullpen this year.
I think the offense is set. The offense, you're absolutely right. I think you don't really have to touch that one. A lot of teams aren't rolling into the playoffs with the offense that the Braves have. I think you're
it wasn't fluky. They did average OBP home runs. It's not like they were just a home run. That's all they did was hit home runs. They didn't. Look at their average and OBP. They led in everything.
You're absolutely right that it's coming down. I think they do need that another starter. And I think the joke I made earlier where it's like all the money they've saved on the contracts that they've signed, I think now you do go get that Corbin Burns. If you're in your window now, which you clearly are as the Atlanta Braves, that's the type of move you make to go get a starter.
Or Ohtani. You go get Ohtani.
You can get that. One move
if he was pitching next year, I'd say go get Ohtani.
No kidding. No. Then if he's still pitching, I might make my case that Atlanta could use Ohtani. Sure.
And take the payroll up to $275 million. Right. They're going to do that.
I was there in only the Gwinnett. I was in AAA for the 2021 season. But I was with the Atlanta organization. And one move that was made that I think they are going to feel a little bit is the absence of Ron Washington.
Oh, God, yeah.
So I think you know exactly where I'm going with this. I think the relationships, and this is just from observing there for a spring training and a little bit more, the relationship that he has with Ozzie, the relationship that he has with all of his infielders, on top of you don't show up lazy to a field that Ron Washington is at. You do not half-ass your work. He doesn't allow you to. You have the morning drills that Ron Washington puts you through as an infielder and the respect that he commands that's fine. You don't have your 100% today. Well, give me 100% for these 15 minutes and I'll let you get out of there. But you're not going to do 50% of an hour of work. We're going to get something done. We're going to get it done right. I think Atlanta's going to feel that absence a little bit more than people realize of Ron Washington not being there next year.
Oh, I think anybody here realizes how much they're going to feel that absence. I think it's their biggest loss of the offseason, harder to fill, arguably, than starting pitcher. I think he has that. And you were there. You saw it's not just his infielders. It's the entire clubhouse that he affects. He's like the master motivator. He's the guy that goes around putting the affirmations printed out in guys' lockers, just everything. And it doesn't come across as corny because nothing Ron Washington does comes across as corny. I mean, just his language alleviates any possibility of it being corny. I mean, that guy's the only guy I know that cusses more than I do. He's pretty. He is a special guy, as Alex Anthopoulos said. He's been in the game a long time. And he's never been around anybody like the 6 years he spent with Ron Washington. I totally agree.
He's Samuel L. Jackson in a baseball uniform.
Yeah, he's phenomenal. He's phenomenal, and if you see guys like Freddie that go to the Dodgers, they're now doing those pregame drills exactly like Washington did, because Freddie told his guys out there, "I need somebody to do this with me before the games." So now it picks up, and other teams starting to do this, because it's effective. It gets guys in the right frame of mind, and on top of the physicalness of the drill itself, the work that he's doing on backhanded, short ops and all that, it gets guys going.
We kept it going down in Gwinnett, and I know exactly what you're talking about, where other guys who have gone through that organization, go on to different organizations, are like, "Hey, can we do this? Can we try this where I get on a knee and go through about 15 each way?" I think they're like, "Where'd you get this?" And it's like, "It's from Washington and Atlanta," where it's just like, because you said it exactly, it works. It's something that I know that even if it's just real short for 7 to 8 minutes, it locks me in, it gets my hands ready for the game, and I know I'm being productive, and it's not wasting that much energy. But like you said, also with the Wash, where it's just like his character alone keeps people locked in. It raises the level of professionalism. Get rid of the language. That's fine. That's no baseball player really cares about hearing swear words or anything like that. The professionalism that he has, and the day-to-day energy, and just like he's there to win no matter what. I guarantee anybody that played for him in Texas can tell you the same way.
And he's surrounded by, when he's doing those one-on-one drills with Ozzie, with Olsen, with Freddie before that, with Dansby before that, they're surrounded by like 12 guys usually, because there's so much positive energy coming out of there, the ball busting and all that. But just the positive energy, it's like the kind of the pregame version of guys sitting around a hot tub in the old days drinking beers. This is what's happening before the game there, and guys are getting locked in and listening, and just they want to be there. They just gravitate towards Wash doing these drills with guys. He's got outfielders coming over, and and doing the drills just because they want to do it with Wash. They figure it can't help. It can't do anything but help me.
Okay. So then my question is, all this character, all this positive, why the heck did he take the Angels job?
Well, he's 70. He's going to be 72 years old. I didn't think a team was going to give him an opportunity. I thought they should have in the last 5 years, but I thought he was past it now, because the whole direction that the sport has moved with analytics and young guys and all that. But I think what's kind of saved him or gave him another chance was the success that Snitker, Bochy, Dusty, all these guys that are 70 years old and older are having. I thought that maybe, and then obviously Perry Manassian was here, firsthand glimpse every day of Wash doing his thing. Perry's tight with Alex, his assistant, and so he knows exactly what Wash brought to this team. So I thought Perry is probably in a position where, okay, I got to hit on this one. I want somebody who has an impact, that comes in and has a presence, because Perry talked about hiring a guy with a presence. Nobody's got more of a presence than Ron Washington. Nobody. When he walks in, maybe Dusty's right there with him, but other than that, when he walks into a room, he takes over. And I think that's what Perry's tried it the other way. They've gone with young guys that they knew were going to do everything analytically that the front office wants. And Wash is, even though he's an old guy, old school to the bone, he also embraces the analytics. That the Braves have got a really good analytics department. It's just that they allow the coaches to feed it to the players rather than having to, as someone has said, the pointy heads, rather than have them come directly to the players with this information and say, we need you to do this. They have the coaches disseminate the information, and Wash is really good at doing that, positioning and all that.
Yeah, I mean, it's not often you get everyone going, yep, that's a win right there. Everyone's excited for Wash.
I haven't heard anybody be critical. I mean, he's kind of like we had Bobby Cox here, and you never heard anybody say a bad word about Bobby Cox. Well, Wash is even more so, probably. Nobody criticizes this guy. Nobody.
I'm with you. Well, Dave, awesome catching up with you on all of that. Appreciate you. Obviously, follow him at DOBRIENATL. Watch his stuff in The Athletic. Follow the pod. Thanks, Dave. We'll catch you soon.
Thank you.
Ohtani sweepstakes. It's on.